disruptive.
Weird thing to happen. Dropsite News put this together. We know that Israel has this campaign to propagandize, to manufacture consent for the continuation of the genocide, to promote Netanyahu, the Kitz government, and anyone that goes against it be smeared anti-Semitic, anyone that criticizes Israel be conflated to anti-Jewish, which is not the case. It's just absolutely just a mess all around. But this is just really, really daunting. So Dropsite News says Google's $45 million contract with Netanyahu's office to spread Israeli propaganda. Google is in the middle of a 6-month, $45 million contract to amplify propaganda with Netanyahu's office. The contract describes Google as a key entity supporting the prime minister's messaging. On March 2nd, 2025, hours after the Israeli government announced the blockade of all food, medicine, fuel, and other humanitarian supplies from entering Gaza, lawmakers in Jerusalem demanded answers, not on the devastating human toll of such a decision, but on how Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office was preparing to handle the public relations fallout. I began with the example of the cessation of humanitarian aid. Did you prepare for this thing this morning? Asked Knesset member Moshe Terpaz, the chair of the subcommittee on foreign affairs in Israeli parliament. Avicii, is that how you say it? Avicii Endri, a spokesperson for the Israeli Defense Forces, who was asked the same question later in the hearing, assured the legislators' work was underway, stating we could also decide to launch a digital campaign in this context to explain that there is no hunger and present the data. Publicly available government contracts show that Israel's advertising bureau that reports to the prime minister's office has since embarked on a mass advertising and public messaging effort to conceal the hunger crisis. So, Netanyahu, a foreign country, and their government is contracting Google to make up propaganda to cover their actions. This is, it's already noticeable. It's already obvious that it's already being conducted. It's crazy that they're announcing this out in the open, that they're doing this as a PR stunt, that they need public relations to get people on board with the absolute, complete, catastrophic damage they've done to Palestine. That the hunger crisis, the humanitarian crisis, the complete genocide, the wiping out of the population that everybody has seen, everybody is aware of. Anyone can go on social media anywhere at any time and see the devastating images. That now they're trying to cover this up with a PR gimmick and awarded Google this contract to manufacture consent to cover all this up. The push includes the use of American influencers widely reported on last month. It was also includes a high dollar spending spree on paid advertising yielding tens of millions for Google, YouTube, X, Meta, and other tech platforms. So I'm guessing at some point YouTube's going to announce a change in terms of services. I'm gonna suspect that YouTube is gonna change their community standards. Same with X. I expect an email at some point because they're not bought out. They're doing this for the benefit of you. That's what they keep claiming. All the changes that they've done, it's the benefit of the viewer, not the person that buys it. There is food in Gaza. Any other claim is a lie, asserted a propaganda video published by Israel's foreign ministry to Google's YouTube video sharing platform in late August and viewed more than 6 million times. Much of the video's reach results from an ad placed during an ongoing and previously unreported $45 million advertising campaign initiated between Google and Netanyahu's office in late June. The contract, which is with both YouTube and Google's advertising campaign management platform, Display and Video 360, explicitly characterizes the ad campaign as Hasbara, a Hebrew word whose meaning is somewhere between public relations and propaganda. So they're even admitting that's propaganda. It's somewhere between public relations and propaganda. Records show that the Israeli government similarly spent $3 million for an advertising campaign with X. The French and Israeli advertising platforms Outbrain TEDS is also set to receive roughly $2.1 million. The ads have aired in response to the increasing global outcry over the deteriorating situation in Gaza. In August, the UN formally declared a famine in Gaza governance, which includes Gaza City. The Integrated Food Security Phase classification, the leading global authority on food security, projected the threshold for famine would have been crossed in Del Arba and Khan Yunis in the coming weeks, stating this famine is entirely man-made. It could be halted and reversed. The UN Aid Coordinated Office, OCHA, further warned on Friday of a descent into a massive famine in the Gaza Strip. At least 367 Palestinians, including 131 children, have died as a result of hunger and malnourishment since the war began, according to the health minister in Gaza. So, again, you could see it out in the open. You don't even need really articles to highlight this. It's already been very visible, and we know that people have spoke out about this. I mean, Tucker Carlson just recently had on an ex-Green Beret. I can't remember the name off the top of my mind. It's like Tony something. He had an ex-Green Beret who was stationed in Gaza at the time, who was trying to bring humanitarian aid to the Gazan people, and he saw with his own eyes the catastrophe of the crisis done by Israel themselves purposely to wipe out the Palestinian population. They want them malnourished. They want them to perish off. They want to make it unlivable and unbearable to maintain existence in Palestine, forcing them to either die off or leave elsewhere. That was the whole purpose of this. That's part of the Greater Israeli Project. It's been well documented that this has been going on. Even Israelis themselves even confirmed to this. So you can't even say that, oh, well, if a Gaza expert or a genocide expert, because they're wrong on many things, we can't trust them on this. They're obviously liars. They're obviously anti-Semitic, or UNRWA hires a bunch of Hamas people, so obviously we can't trust them. Well, can you trust the American military personnel that are speaking out about this? Can you trust the people, the journalists that actually been to Gaza and actually seen firsthand the devastation? Can you trust those people? Because I can. They've actually seen it. They've actually dealt with it. I'm not going to trust, Lindsey Graham or any of the politicians or any of the mainstream anchors on television, because they're sitting in an office. They're sitting in a desk they're sitting at their desk in a fancy studio. They're not experiencing what Gazans and Palestinians are dealing with on an average day. They're not seeing firsthand the scenario that's playing in front of them. But we have video proof of it. We have evidence. We have publications. We have, social media videos. That's why they want to pressure to crack down on TikTok. They want to crack down, ban TikTok from young people not because of China. Not because of China. Because young people are getting aware of this. Young people are seeing the devastating images, and they're worried that it's going to be bad PR, bad public relations for Israel. I mean, look at Tim Pool. Tim Pool who was devastated he wasn't part of the group that was offered money from Israel. He was devastated about that. He even stated that at some point, all this, fanfare for Israel is going to go away shortly. That he could see the next, 5-10 years, not a lot of people are going to support Israel and this project and Zionism. And that's devastating for them, which is why they're paying these giant tech platforms to peddle conspiracy, to peddle propaganda, to bait people into this. And of course, if people don't comply, they can easily call them anti-Semitic. So it's not just Google, though. Because here's the ADL CEO. This is Jonathan Greenblatt. This is the guy that is demanding TikTok to be removed from America. This is the guy that is demanding young people need to submit and comply. Otherwise, they're anti-Semitic and they might grow up to be, radical terrorists. Now he's going after Wikipedia, of all places. Wikipedia. And from Harrison Smith, he says, here's ADL CEO Jonathan Greenblatt in Israel advocating for the takeover of Wikipedia earlier this year. Why? Why is that the case? Because they believe Wikipedia is not Israeli enough. That's their claim. Their claim that Wikipedia, that we know people alter pages as a trope of the CIA and the intelligence community. That's why they make false claims on certain pages. You can look at many different articles that have inaccuracies done by the intelligence agencies. They're angry that it's not pro-Zionist enough. They're not promoting the genocide enough. That's why they even went after Grok. They went after Grok because Grok, an AI bot, is more open and aware of its surroundings when it comes to a genocide, and they got angered by that, and they had to take Grok off the platform of Twitter. So now here's Jonathan Greenblatt going after Wikipedia because Wikipedia has information that criticizes a bit of Israel, and they don't like that.
You must take this deadly seriously. Pushing extremists off Wikipedia might not seem equal to the challenge of pushing Hezbollah north of the Litani River. Capturing TikTok might seem less meaningful than holding on to Mount Hermon. Libelous tweets certainly might seem less deadly than missiles from Yemen. But this is urgent because the next war will be decided based on how Israel and its allies perform online as much as offline. We must.
So that is Jonathan Greenblatt of the Anti-Defamation League demanding that we have to take over Wikipedia because it's such a big, deadly concern. A big, deadly concern. Not starving children and causing complete wipeout of entire population, but it's concerning. The highest concern that people are reading Wikipedia pages that we don't control. And what have we learned from people like Jonathan Greenblatt, or even, to paraphrase the words of Alex Karp, one of the CEOs of Palantir, that stated, if we lose control of the narrative, meaning if we lose control over scaring people into submitting for Israel, then we don't have the ability to scare people into another war. And the war machine kind of is empty. That people are not going to comply for more wars. If they don't fall into line on Israel, then we can't have America and Israel formed an alliance together to propagandize people for more wars in the Middle East. That's what even Palantir stated. So that's why they want to take over Wikipedia. That's why it's such grave concern. Wikipedia, that not a lot of people really use at this point, because we know that Wikipedia is not that reliable. It's not reliable when you can edit pages, when you know it's backed by the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, and intelligence agencies around the world to manipulate pages, predominant pages. No one takes Wikipedia that seriously. Even my teachers back in the day, they always told me never use Wikipedia as a reliable source. But they're concerned because, God forbid, there's a little bit of criticism on our behalf. We are starving people, after all, but we can't have that leaked out because that would make people critical of us and we will lose control and blah, 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 and we need to control people. Just like they're doing with TikTok. Just like how they're spending $45 million to get Google to launch some advertising campaigns to trick people into thinking that, you know, starving children isn't starving children. These aren't the malnourished children you're looking for. So, but what they forget to reveal, and this is from quite a while back, but here's Wyatt Reed, independent journalist Wyatt Reed. He says, former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, the goal is to teach people how to edit Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. We want to be the guys who influence that, what is written here, how it's written, and ensure that it's Zionist in nature. So this is a news report coming out of Israel where the former prime minister is bragging that the Mossad agencies have people working and manipulating Wikipedia pages, that they're going in and editing pages to make a pro-Zionist statement, to make it as Zionist as possible. And they're bragging about it. They're bragging about how they're influencing these pages to reflect positively on them, that they're the ones actually already instigating in taking over Wikipedia.
Moetzet Yesha, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to learn more.
They just said, we want to take pages, and he used the example of the Gaza flotilla, which is providing aid to people in need within Gaza and Palestine. He wants to transform the pages so we become the influencers, and we want to make sure we peddle these pages to be more Zionist. I love how he throws in balance just to trick people off. We want to make sure it's balanced, but it's Zionist in nature. Yeah, that's not balanced then, is it? Because if it was a balanced argument, you wouldn't incorporate Zionism into it. You would just leave it unbiased. So they've already admitted to taking over Wikipedia. They've already admitted to taking over Wikipedia. But what Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL is worried about is the fact that there's some other contributors that we don't have control over that are elsewhere in the world that are contradicting our influence. And that's bad. We want control. We want to take over. So that's why they're angry at Wikipedia. But this is them announcing that they're already doing this. They're already doing this.
More about how we as Israelis and as Jews can defend Israel online, on the internet, and particularly in Wikipedia in this case. Wikipedia is a bit of a complex system, and it's sometimes hard to figure out the rules. I've personally tried to edit things in Wikipedia that were against Israel, small things, and my changes were erased or undone, and I didn't understand why. And I think that this kind of knowledge is important for anyone who wants to be active in defending Israel on the internet, so that we can go and we can see the information and we can say this isn't quite right, it's showing one side of the story, and I have the power and the right to change that. And in general, it's so important for us to be online, working to defend ourselves and to prove to the world and to ourselves that we are just and we are right. And because right now, if you look online, if you do searches for certain terms related to Israel, it's just filled with anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, and garbage. And there's not enough of us out there working to counteract that and make sure that the other side of the story, our side of the story, and our right side of the story is getting the right coverage and the coverage that it needs. So this type of initiative and initiatives like that to educate and promote defense of Israel online are extremely important, and I hope we'll see more of this in the future.
So that's been going on for years. This has been going on for years. This is kind of the, rhetoric that they're trying to trick people on why we should dismantle TikTok. They think that like China's doing this, that, this application, they're trying to push, Chinese propaganda onto our kids. When really, we already know where the propaganda is coming from. We already know who's actually active and engaging and making it a vital issue to systematically change pages, web pages, Wikipedia articles, deliberately to push propaganda in favor of their specific agenda. Imagine if this was any other country. Imagine if this was a report that came out of, an Arab nation. If this came out of India, this came out of China. Imagine if this came out of Russia. All the times they claim that there's, Russian bot agents and troll farms that lurk about, and they make all these memes of Jesus masturbating and all this other crap. Oh my God, they're influencing the election. How could they do something like this? And yet, for years, I don't know exactly when this was recorded, but I can tell you it's probably at least the early 2000s. For years, they have trained people within the Israeli intelligence to alter articles, to alter web pages, specifically to promote the heinous agenda of Zionism, purposely to undermine people. And they're making it such a vital issue, even though they have control over Wikipedia pages. They have control over our mainstream media. There's a reason why you will never see the truth about what's going on in Middle Eastern wars from our media sphere. But if you go to Israeli media themselves, it's kind of interesting that Israeli media isn't shy to hide their crimes. They actually promote it. They're actually very enthusiastic of spilling the tea and telling people, yeah, this is what we're doing. And even the people within Israel are saying that we are committing a genocide, that we are starving people, that this is part of the agenda all along. So it doesn't matter how much emphasis they're taking. It doesn't matter how much they're trying to suppress the information. It doesn't matter how much they're trying to fearmonger people. The damage is already done. The damage is already done. We've already witnessed it. We're already seeing it firsthand. People are well aware of what is happening with Palestinians, what's happening with children, the starvation campaign on top of the continued bombing to drive out this population and kill what the remaining left of the Palestinian region so they could take over it as part of the Zionist philosophy, as part of the greater Israeli project. That was the whole purpose of all this. And that is what is meant to believe that October 7th was purposely manufactured and done to scare people into active engagement on this prophecy. This is what needed to be done. Why else would Benjamin Netanyahu pay Hamas suitcases of money, built them up for such an extended amount of time that Israeli publications pointed this out? Just want to remind you. This is very well documented. It's not Hamas propaganda. It's not any propaganda. It's documented from the Israeli government themselves. They purposely built up Hamas as a terrorist group to engage in warfare, and then used October 7th, even though they were warned extensively that something was going to happen, that something needs to be done. They needed October 7th to fully commit to doing the atrocity and slaughtering the Palestinians. They needed that action. Just like how we need 9/11 as the excuse to have the Patriot Act, to swarm into Iraq, and to do Afghanistan. Because really, we had in the back of our minds that these countries are involved in September 11th. Arab nations are bad. That's why we got to do it. We got to fearmonger people into it. That's why it was the perfect deception to bait people into this. October 7th is the same exact thing. And funny enough, we're not allowed to question either or. We're not allowed to fully investigate and figure out what happened on those days. But we're supposed to comply. We're supposed to just get into line, shut the hell up, and let people like Jonathan Greenblatt make a big deal on the fact that Wikipedia has some sort of big giant conspiracy. They're putting, anti-Zionist rhetoric out there, and oh my God, we got to take over Wikipedia. Those damn terrorist extremists and their keyboards. We already know that Mossad, MI6, and the CIA, they all coordinate together to propagandize the world through Wikipedia, through Google, through all the other means. This is just, this is just the military-industrial complex, once again. That's why RFK Jr. was kind of spot on when he described Israel as an aircraft war carrier. It's like our warcraft carrier overseas. It's like an aircraft for the Middle East. He was kind of right about that, because Israel is pretty much a vessel for American imperialism. It's a vessel for the military-industrial complex. It's a vessel for AI surveillance. And guess what? The AI surveillance that they've used on Palestinians for quite some time, it's coming to you. So guess what? You're going to become a Gazan no matter what. All thanks to this. And as I stated, at this point, there's not, you're at a lost cause if you're still continuing to support Palestine. You are still supporting Israel. You might as well support Palestine. At this point, you might as well, because you're never going to live up to the standards of these Zionist ghouls and monsters. You're never going to live up to their standards. Look at what happened with Ben Shapiro and Rabbi Shmuley. Like, the Zionists are biting the heads off each other because one Zionist is not living up to the full prophecy of another Zionist, and you're never going to live up to their standards. So what's the point? What is the point? You might as well just acknowledge the fact that there's an active campaign into starving children, into completely dismantling the population, which has already been obvious to people. They've stated this numerous times. It's all part of the philosophy in the formation of Israel and this colonization of the region. And just admit that they are committing the war atrocities purposely. And that's why they're pursuing to cover it up and buy out tech platforms and blackmail and deceive them to alter pages to cover up their wrongdoings, because they are committing atrocities. It's not hard to figure that out.